forwards, right? We got guys that are listed. And then we're kind of just going from there. So, it's one person per area, so to say, but there's a lot of crossover, right? There's a lot of crossover. Like we got a good receiver, that's up in North Jersey. They'll say, all right, coach, hop on this with me. And that's what we do. So we got good balance.
Now, without letting too much out, what's the new offense going to look like? Anything you could share? I don't want to put you on the spot or get you in trouble by any means, dude, but is it going to be, are we run, throw, run, play action, punt again, or what are we doing here at Montclair? Like, come on, we're switching this up. What are we getting after it?
The goal is to score points, right? So no matter what.
Well, shit, right? That would be something crazy because as hell didn't happen when I was there. I'll tell you that. No offense to the offensive guys I played with, but dude.
Hey, listen, we won a lot of games, man. That's what it ultimately comes down to, right?
21-14, baby. We're good. We'll take it.
But yeah, man. There's a lot of different, styles of football, right? So to say, but it really comes down to the, scoring points, executing at a high level, not turning the ball over, staying in front of the chains. Mm-hmm. So, we want to utilize a lot of different formations, utilize motions, get our guys in the right positions to go ahead and be successful. We want to definitely attack the ball vertically down the field, all right, and horizontally, and
nice make
space. So again, it really comes down to just getting the right guys in the right positions based on their strengths. So, whether we're in, 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, even 13, okay, that's great. Okay. What are we good at, right? What can we hang our hat on? Let's not turn the ball over. Let's stay in front of the chains, play on third and short, right? And continue to, move the ball down the field. And then I was just reading a stat, and I showed it to a couple guys, but like we want to have explosives, right?
Of course.
And again, I have it on a PowerPoint, but if you have on a drive, if you have zero explosive plays, right, your chance of scoring a touchdown is at 6%. But if you have one explosive, right, your number jumps up to 54% to score a touchdown that drive, right?
It's unbelievable.
And if you have two, it goes up to 84. So, we gotta be explosive in what we do. So whether that's, again, we want to run the ball on a 6-box. We got 6 guys in there, and if they bring a 7th, right, we got to throw off the 7th, right? We got
100%.
We got to create these different, ways to go ahead and create explosive plays. So, with that being said, there's a lot of different ways to go ahead and get to it.
Yeah.
And that's our job to go ahead and figure it out. So, like I
said.
Now,
obviously, looking at that, now, are you going to have to now recruit differently, obviously? Like, are you going to be looking for, hey, we're going to need more wideouts in this set, or we're looking for this type of, maybe an offensive lineman that's a little more, whatever athletically when it comes to it, rather than just, hey, we're going to, or are you just kind of, I would assume, like just looking for, best of the best, and if you're coming, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Obviously there's certain traits that you want to go ahead and look for in every position. Right. But,
right.
If it was a Division III player, right, and they were the total package, they probably would be coming to us to begin with. Right?
100%.
So probably missing something, whether they're a little bit too small, maybe that 40 time, right. They're at a, they're 5'10", but they're running like a 4'6" instead of a 4'5", right, or something along those lines, right? So, again, there's always going to be something missing. We're not really, not recruiting guys because of that one thing. If we think they are a good player and they will fit, our system, we'll go ahead and try to gauge them and put them in the right spots. But obviously, you're looking for total packages. You want guys that could go ahead and run, bend, move laterally, so on and so forth. But you don't know. So, like I said, it's our job. You don't get the team that you always want. You get the team that you build, and it's our job to go ahead and build it. And that's what we try to do at the high school level, right? You only have those guys that are, in district, right, going to your school. Right?
Who you got is what you got, dude. Like, who you got is what you got.
The best players, man. But this is what we got. So how are we going to go ahead and we're going to make this work? So I think it's very similar to both, and that's, again, that's our job to go ahead and figure out.
Yeah, I I think that's an important thing. Figuring out what, obviously the pieces that you have. I think it's changed a lot. It's starting to change a lot at Division 3. What positionally? What skills are you looking for? What kind of things do you want to have? Um, in order to really get you guys to the next level at your position that you're coaching.
As far as the quarterback, obviously we want number one has got to be, the brains, right? You got to be a smart kid. You got to be like a natural leader, be able to communicate, process a lot of information, and obviously the process of information, all right, on the fly, right, that takes a lot of time. But we're looking for the taller kid, right, that's got good build, good feet in the pocket, good release point, right. We don't want to, if we're getting into the release, like the arm and the biomechanics of the arm and stuff like that, we're probably not going to go ahead and recruit you, because you got to be able to have those things, right. We could go ahead and teach the pocket, right, different presence in there, being on platform and stuff like that, making sure your shoulders closed, so on and so forth. Like, we're good at that. But if your arm angle and stuff like that is a little off, we'll probably stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But and then anything else from there, like if he's able to go ahead and pull the ball and run, like let's just say like explosive runs, right? That's awesome. But let's just say that, he's not the typical like pull and burn, and he's not going to go for 80, right? Okay, so then, we could still go ahead. We'll get 5 out of some of those, inside zone pulls, all right? Or, we'll just lock the tackle, and then we'll read the middle linebacker, right? We'll read the, the alley defender, whatever the case may be. So, again, there's different changes, right? The quarterback's real athletic, like the one at, FDU. He was legit, man. He ran for like 600 yards, 10 plus touchdowns, but he also threw for 25. So, we could go ahead and get into some like quarterback bash concepts and stuff like that, and run power read. So the whole menu is there, right? Everybody, again, what is it? It always goes back to their strengths, right? And I know I said it like 6 or 7 times, but all right, this is what we got. This is what he's good at. This is how we're going to go ahead and tailor it. And I just think that going with that is going to go ahead and give us a lot more success.
What do you look at, like how many number, like total number would, because it's 135 on the roster, so you would carry how many quarterbacks?
Yeah, so we're looking to have at least 2 in every class, right? So we're having 2.
Recruiting 2 in every class, or having 2 in every class?
Well, we want to make sure that we have 2 in every class when we go into ball. Right now we have 1, 2, 3.
So
we have
you're
5
gonna
spring.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
And we're bringing 1 in, right? So there's only 1 senior, and everybody else has 2 there, right? Because obviously, if you only have 1, if something happens to that 1, whether he leaves school or he gets hurt, then you don't have another number there, right? But then 3 will be too many, right?
Yep.
So again, the goal is to have 2. It's a tough position because there's only 1 guy that plays.
Dave and I, we discuss this all the time, and it's the biggest thing we have with parents, because everybody wants their kid to be the QB, and it's like, buddy, there's 1 ball, right? There's 1 starter. There's not, this ain't, wide out where I could have 5 on the field at once, or DB where I could have 4 on the field at once. Like, there's 1 QB, dude, right? And it's about getting snaps, and you want to play. You don't want to just be a career backup, right? So, there's a lot that goes into that quarterback position. That's why I'm asking, like, how many are you gonna, carry and whatnot, because it's a hard thing to kind of, manage.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's the hardest position to get recruited at. All right. And I think all the sports, because of, number one, if you have a good quarterback, you're going to have a successful team. But number 2 is you really don't know how well they could go ahead and process information, right? Everything looks good, as far as you could talk ball and all that kind of stuff, but it's all reaction, right? It's all reaction, and the mental part, you can't get into their brain and know. So it takes a lot of time and, learning, and you got to be an alpha. You got to be an alpha to be a Q. Because you'll probably get too much credit on the wins, and you'll get too much blame on the losses.
Absolutely.
Do you work with them in the off season on different things? Like, do you do any Are you doing any VR stuff with them or anything like that?
No, we don't have the means to do any VR, but we're not allowed to meet with them. We could only have like leaders. There can only be leadership things. So we can't do anything until spring ball starts.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So all the stuff they would do at that point would be on their own. Do you guys do like winter workouts or anything like that?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. Winter workouts, all that kind of stuff. They've been training since they got back on campus. All in the morning. Lifting 3-4 days a week. They'll throw on their own and do all that, but it can't be coaches can't be involved in that.
Interesting. What's the prognosis for this year?
Win. Again, ultimately, right, you want to go ahead and win the conference championship, all that stuff. But, right now, just the approach is kind of day by day, right? Again, you want to have those long-term goals and you want to, just live in the short term and, win, it's cliche, but win every day, stack the days, get yourself some confidence throughout the spring and then get yourself into, situations where, you can win those big games. It's the same thing as, when I took over in Woodbridge, right? They were 5-5. Sorry, they were 2-7 or 2-8 the year prior, and it's like building a house, right? You got to build a foundation first, right? So, because if you build it the wrong way and you don't have a solid foundation, it's going to go ahead and it's going to crumble. So, when I was at Woodbridge, our first year was 5-5, but we started off 1-4, and it was tough. It was tough, but setting the foundation up. The following year, we won 10 games. Top 20 in New Jersey, play for a sectional championship. So again, that foundation set us up for success. After that, following year was the COVID year, but we got up to number 4 in New Jersey, and we lost to Somerville, and they were like number 5. They had Cookie Desiderio and
Yep.
Kid Payne. Yeah, that was an awesome game, and unfortunately, not everybody got to experience watching that because of the restrictions of the people in the stands. But again, going back to it, we want to make sure that we build that foundation up. The wins will go ahead and come as the foundation set, and you stack the days, and get the confidence going, and just take it day by day. So, ultimately, we want to win championships, but those things are there. They'll be a byproduct of our hard work every day.
It's interesting transition going from high school to college, and you talked a lot about it. Is there as big a transition? I know the level of play is higher, but is as big a transition for you to coach from high school to college as far as what you had to adapt to, or not as big as you thought?
No, I feel comfortable. I'm a football junkie, right? So like, I just try to take in as much information as I can and kind of learn from guys. And my dad was a longtime high school coach, so I've been around
Right.
this,
Yep.
since I was pretty much born. So, and I always knew it's what I wanted to do. But I surrounded myself with some really good guys along the way, and obviously there's always more to learn, right? There's always more. There's always something trending. I just try to take in as much information when I was a high school coach as I possibly can to stay up with the times or stay ahead of the curve. And I think I've had enough knowledge, right, going into the college level where I felt comfortable, right, especially in what we were doing. Obviously I was a receiver, but I was calling the offense, so I had to know the schematics of the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
Right.
again, to be successful on offense, you have to understand what the defense is doing. So, I had a really good, he played at Monmouth. His name was Bryce Barnes. He played for me at Colonia. He played at Monmouth. He was a receiver in DB. And for 2 years, he coached the defensive backs. And, schematically, he didn't really schematically, it wasn't his strength, but technique-wise, he was really, really good with technique. So, again, you always, as a head coach, right, you want to go ahead and let the coaches coach to their strength as well, right? So, okay, the defensive coordinator and some of the other guys took care of the schematics, but he was incorporating some of his technique in there. And I would sit there and I would just kind of watch, everything that was going on. And then I called him up in the fall and I said, man, Bryce, I got to just thank you. Like the stuff that you were teaching our guys at the high school level was so good that when I was when I was coaching these receivers, like again, I remember him saying it, being 1x7 inside, skate technique, pedal technique. These guys were in catch, like all the different cues, right? Playing it again. If we were stacking receivers, the inside out, which we called Iowa, right? Just the different leverage points on how they were playing certain things. Where, again, you never stop learning. All right, and then he played for me. Then at the high school level was really successful. Had a successful career at Monmouth. Right. And then came back and worked with me for a couple of years. And, I had to just call him up and be like, hey, Bryce, man, I just got to thank you. You were on your stuff. You taught those guys really good amount of stuff. And I didn't realize how much I learned from you at that time until I was put in a position where I was on the film board. I was on the film and I was teaching these guys and I was explaining them different defensive back techniques. So, again, just that transition. I've had to go ahead and retouch on some quarterback stuff, right? Because I was coaching, the receiver. So now I got to, change the page to go ahead and now tailor it to the quarterback. But again, just trying to be well-rounded, right? Having good overall knowledge of the game, whether it's fundamentally or schematically. Just trying to go ahead and, be a sponge, man. Be a sponge.
Do you at the quarterback position? Do you think you'll have time to really get into the technique part of it with them, or are you going to be mostly focused on scheme? Like that's always like for quarterbacks in college. That's always an issue. Like the development part, how much of it is on them now because obviously the position requires so much. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think you got to find good balance in both because you don't want to ever get away from the fundamentals, right? You know, big doors open from small hinges, right? So you got to do the little things right. So again, just making a conscious effort in the practice plan to make sure that we hit on in our indie, all right, like 15 minutes of fundamentals, and within that 15 to 20 minutes, like I was just thinking about practice structure, like 5 minutes focus on some of footwork, 5 minutes off schedule throws, 5 minutes rhythm throws, and then 5 minutes just like indie drills on whatever we need to go ahead and get better at. So if we have a 20-minute period, that's what we got to go ahead and work on, and then we get into our group. So you don't want to get away from the fundamentals, right? But how much practice time do you have? How does it all balance? And where can you go ahead and steal indie time?
Of course. Well, as a quarterback, that's one of the benefits of being, you can steal indie time, a lot. Just like, offensive line can steal indie time, right? When you're doing a special teams or whatnot. Like, that's one of those positions where if you need to, you can go and grab a guy and be like, hey, like, we got to go do some of this right now. Or that's where you could also dial it back a little bit and be like, hey, you're still coming here, but hey, we got to talk some scheme. We're going to right here. So you have a little bit of that wiggle room at the quarterback position, whereas some of these other spots, you don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, those guys aren't running down on kickoff, right? So,
this kid could.
Yeah. You never know. So, again, just finding that balance, right? But then also we're teaching a whole new scheme. So there's going to be a lot of coaching, but on the fly and talking through progressions and safeties and the demeanor of corners and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot going on. Then you have protections as well. So, it's going to be a lot. We still want to, again, as long as we organize it the right way, all right, and we teach in a progression, right? I think that we'll be able to make sure that we could check these boxes off on a daily basis, film it, right, and then get into the classroom and break it down. And I think that we got a pretty good plan on how we're going to go ahead and install and review throughout the course of spring ball. So, again, we're going to, in the overall scheme, we'll throw a lot on the wall and see what goes ahead and sticks. All right, but
And
at
you're
the
getting those extra practices in time, and you're getting it in pads, which is such a benefit that you normally wouldn't have at a spring ball, like for a
yeah,
spring ball set. Like that's all because, hey, we're going to travel to Canada. Like, let's
yeah,
go. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So I think all that stuff just it really aligns and it really works out right now. So, it's a lot of time, but at the same time, it's not. So, you got to just make sure you maximize all that practice time.
Absolutely.
I have one final question for you. Is there high school versus college? Is there anything you miss about high school that you being in college? And is there something that you also on the vice versa side that you love more about college versus being in high school?
Well, at the high school level, I think you have more of a impact on the kids, right? Like, you there's guys where I was the father figure too, right? So this year in December, I had like 20 guys that I coached at my house, right? And I got pizzas. Everybody, I know you like from AJ Bosch to, Anthony Santino to some of the guys that you might, if I said their name, you wouldn't even know, right? You wouldn't even know. Like just a whole, I had these guys over my house for like 4 or 5 hours, just sitting there talking, um, you telling stories. You know how it goes, man. So like, I think the impact you have as a high school coach, um, and on their development as a man, and steering them in the right direction is far greater than any influence that you could go ahead and have. So I do miss that because I think that there's not a lot of leaders anymore for young guys, and they could go ahead and they could go get straight off the wrong path, make some bad decisions. So just the day-to-day conversations that I was having in the class, like in the classroom, because you get more access to them at the high school level than you do at the, at some of the college level.
Right.
Uh, but so I do miss that. But also at the same time, I just, I love the maturity of a college kid, right? Like he has an idea of what he wants to go ahead and do. I've had a lot of conversations, especially since I'm in education, like, hey, coach, I think I'm going to go back to go ahead and be a guidance counselor. Coach, I want to go ahead and be a teacher. What are the next steps for me to go ahead and do? One of my wideouts who led the MAC in catches, Aiden Calorie, he was on the fence about what he wanted to go ahead and do. And I said, yo, dude, like if you love football, and he was a leader, he was a captain. If you love football, like, you know, and you want to be a teacher, go ahead and go back, right? Because he got his degree in something else. I think it was business. Go back, do your 2 years so that you're ultimately doing something that you enjoy. And there's a lot of advice there, but it's a little different, but it's the same, you know, it's the same overall. Like just helping people, helping kids, like try to lead them down the right path. That's why I got into this to begin with. My dad was a long time high school coach, like I said, and I saw the impact that he had on a lot of people, and I wanted to go ahead and do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's you are having impact in chain levels. I love that you stepped out and are in college. I think it's really cool. And yeah, definitely, you definitely got a good quarterback coming in there next year. So hopefully that continues to grow and work out. And he's excited to come there. So, but thanks so much for coming on, Coach. I really appreciate it. It's been great having you on again.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And like I said, anytime you want me to hop on, just give me a call. Best of luck in the spring ball. Take care of the queue, and be on the lookout for Montclair State, man. We're coming.
All right, buddy. Thanks, dude.
All
Talk to you
right,
later.
great having you. All
Take
right.
care.